What's up, YouTube? And Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and various other podcast providers. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Prestige Reef Dork Show. I am Alex, aka Reef Dork, and with me, as always, is Ryan from the UK's leading coral selling website, the best coral selling website in the world, prestigereef.co.uk. Ryan, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, building up your website.
Can you see me when the tune at the jingle at the start plays?
I can, but I don't tend to look.
Okay,
You roll
because
your eyes.
I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
Normally, and for the longest time, I've hated it, and then subconsciously, I was just dancing to it.
Yes, it's happened.
It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, where I've slowly but surely just been acclimatized to it.
But I find that with it, and I've seen other people say this as well. When you're watching a YouTube video, any video, no matter what, whether it's about TV, cameras, whatever, you'll be there's this really annoying background tune, and you're like, oh, I wish I'd stop that bloody tune. And then by the end, you're like, I actually really like it.
I think that's what's happened, basically.
Got you. It just took you 6 months instead of 6 seconds.
True. Anyway, how's your week in reefing been? I'll let you go first.
Oh, right, I see. What have I been up to? Oh, where's my notes? So I've done a few things. So I've been, for the first time ever. So I'm setting up this new tank, the Reef Earth Studio 12.
Yes.
And
I saw that.
So
I say I saw that. Yeah. I mean, I saw the thumbnail.
You saw the thumbnail. You didn't actually click on it, of course not. So the video this week was setting it up, so getting all the equipment ready, putting water in it, sand, all that sort of stuff. But next one is in 2 weeks' time, of course, and that will be cycling. So I started cycling it about, I don't know, a week earlier this week, probably Monday, Tuesday, something like that. And when I cycle tanks, I normally pour the bacteria in. I put a bit of proper live rock, either from an existing tank or my local fish up in there, and that's it. Whereas this time round, it comes with a bottle of bacteria and a bottle of ammonia, a bottle of ammonium chloride, ammonia basically.
Oh, yeah.
So you pour them both in at the same time. I think it's the same time as what I did. And I've never done that before. And it's really weird. But it's probably not weird. It's probably how everyone does it. But like the little Seachem ammonia alert discs.
Yes, yeah.
So I put one of those in. They're brilliant. And on day one, it's like if it's light color, then there's no ammonia. If it's dark, it's like shades of blue or yellow.
Yeah. It's like a green color, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. And if it's dark, it's lots of ammonia. It was basically black on day one.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
And then over the course of less than a week, it's not showing zero ammonia, but it's on the low. There are 4 levels: 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah. It started at 4. It's down to 1 now. So there is some ammonia.
I never realized that they checked. I thought they sort of changed and then that was it. They stopped at that car. I didn't realize they go up and then back down as the ammonia lowers down.
And they last for a year. Well, that's what the manufacturer says they last for a year. I've got no reason to believe they won't last for a good period, but no one's keeping one of those in your tank for a year. If you've got ammonia 6 months into your tank, you've got problems.
Well, I've got one on the quarantine tank. That's why, and because it never does anything, it's because it's just always yellow. I'm like, are you working? Are you doing anything?
Actually, that's very true. You probably have got that permanently for a year or so.
Yeah. So it's good to know that it will change and then it will change back. I didn't know that.
No, I don't think I've ever seen. I can't remember. I've always seen them with showing zero, but I can't remember if I've ever seen them showing ammonia. But yeah, it does work. But it's all there's. I've kind of cheated though, because like if I was following the tank comes as a kit with all the stuff.
Yeah,
it's got the bottle of bacteria and the bottle of ammonium chloride. And if I was just following the tank setup, I'd pour those 2 in and that's it. Whereas what I've actually done is I put a bit of rock from my cade that's been in there for 6 months, live rock. Small piece, but whatever. And the tank kit came with 3 little bits of like filter media, little blocks, that are just like porous filter media. And when I got the tank, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, I put all of those in my sump on my main tank to start seeding.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you're cheating basically.
I'm cheating, but that's what I would. I'm not going to hide it in the video, of course. But that's what I would normally do. I always think it's better to use. I always use the bacteria. That's I do the quick startups, but I also always put in a bit of live rock or something seeded from somewhere else, because why not?
No, I totally agree with you. Yeah,
it's not redundancy as much as anything.
The difference with you might have done this. The rock that I put in there, I put in a black bag, like one of the Red Sea's carbon bags, so that
Good
nothing
idea.
can grow on the rock itself, and it keeps it dark. And then when you move that to the next tank, it doesn't transfer over. Hopefully, anything
Yeah.
synthetic. It
Yeah.
doesn't quite well like that because you know those little pineapple sponges.
Yeah.
They transferred over from the farm into the water box tank.
They're okay though.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah.
But to be fair as well, I get Aptasia in my weir box, which is covered and it's basically blacked out. So you might still get something. Life finds a way, doesn't it? But I like the idea of that, of trying to minimize it. But the only thing is that the trouble with doing that is I don't know how long it would take ordinarily. I'm on a schedule, right? So I've got 2 weeks to upload the next video. Yeah. So ideally, I want the fish to go in before then. Frankly, if I'm still showing some ammonia and I want to start recording the video on Monday, then I'll just do a different video.
Yeah.
But I would like it to be in 2 weeks. But I don't know how long it would have taken. I think probably around 2 weeks. But
this is that's the method that Red Sea do with their. You know, have you ever used the Red Sea startup?
No.
Yes, it's the same thing where they give you ammonia and they give you the bacteria, and then you test. Like you're meant to test, I think, every couple of days, and you. I think it's quite good for new people. It's probably a more expensive way to start. Well, it's definitely a more expensive way to start a tank, but it teach people the fundamental basics of testing and understanding the nitrogen cycle, which you don't get from just pouring in a bottle of bacteria. And
you don't have to wait for a shrimp to start breaking down. It's just a pure ammonia. So
that's correct. Yeah,
I quite like that.
Yeah,
I think I would do that. I would do this the same way next time. I would put in the ammonia rather than just leave it, because it's, as much as anything, it's good to see an ammonia spike and then drop off.
Yeah,
because I know that the bacteria are doing the job. Yeah.
Have
Whereas if you just put a bit of live rock in,
have you done the method where you put a fish in and you put a bottle of bacteria in?
Yes, but that's what I normally do.
Oh, is it?
But I always put in a piece of live rock, because the theory with that is, and you're supposed to put the fish in and then not feed.
Yeah.
Because you don't want it to, because it can deal with some ammonia, the bacteria, but not too much.
Yeah.
But I always put a piece of live rock in from another tank or from a local fish shop, because whilst the theory of that bacteria is great, I would rather have a backup. And if I've got a piece of established rock that I know is capable of supporting that tank, why on earth wouldn't you do that?
I agree.
Well, to avoid
transfer of bad things.
I'm not fussed about that. There's very little things that you'll get from a normal piece of live rock, even from my tank that's 6 years old, that's actually a problem. Like I might get Aptasia, but you can deal with Aptasia.
Well, not just you, but sort of like seasoned reefers don't worry about most things. Most of the things that new reefers worry about, like Aptasia, for example, they're less of a concern for.
I freaked out when I first got it, because it's you go online and all you hear is, it'll take over your tank and it'll sting your corals and it's ugly, it's horrible. But when you first see it, you're like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
But and actually, it does happen. It does happen sometimes when it will take over a tank. It looks really ugly. I've never actually seen it affecting corals, but I've never got to the stage where it takes over. So it can do, of course.
Yeah.
But really, for most of the times, like I had a piece in the water box. It just started sticking out in one of the rocks. There's frag plug holes in the rocks. Yeah. I left it there for ages, and then finally I drained the tank so that bit was exposed to air. I dried it, filled it with super glue, put a bit of putty over the top, and now it's gone. And I've not seen anything since. And if it comes back, I'll get some buggy nudibranchs or a peppermint shrimp or same thing.
This would be a long, long time ago now. So long ago, it was actually when I had a nano tank. So that will tell you how long ago it was.
I didn't know you had a nano tank.
Very, very, very briefly. I bought a secondhand tank, and that tank had Aptasia in it. This was probably 10 years ago. And I didn't know how to kill Aptasia at the time. But the Aptasia was actually it was stuck to the glass. So I drained the entire tank down and then poured boiling water on it.
Okay.
And then filled up with fresh water.
To be sure.
I was trying to properly kill this thing.
So I've done a similar thing before. So I had two similar issues. So one, I found one on a frag rack, just like it was an egg crate, egg crate frag rack.
Yeah.
So I took that frag rack out, boiled a kettle, and poured boiling water on it.
Oh, so I'm not the only one.
And I think I might have thrown that frag rack away as well. Well, I don't know why I didn't just.
Makes no sense.
But I know. But the other time I also had a bit in my sump on on one of the baffles, on one of the glass baffles.
Yeah.
But that's when I had my copper band, so I scraped it off, put it in the little feeder, and actually annoyingly it escaped from the feeder and ended up sticking to one of the rocks. But then a couple of days later I came back and it was gone, so it got eaten.
So when you broke it up, you then put them everywhere.
Exactly. But I'm not fussed about pests anymore. I used to be massively, but I'm not anymore. Someone's just said,
back? Since your copper band's gone, have they come back?
No, it must be 6 months since that copper band died. Maybe not quite 6 months, but it's not come back at all. And I was convinced, because I've not seen in my weird box for a while, but the weird box used to be full, completely riddled with that tea. Very, very, very see-through, very transparent. Because obviously they haven't got, I guess they're low on nutrition because they're not getting much light. I don't know. But it was there. But I've not seen it at all in the tank, which is great. I thought it would do. And then, because I told myself I'm not going to get another copper band. But then I did think, well, if I start getting aptasia, maybe I'll change my mind.
You get another one, yeah.
There's someone that's just commented, just another reaper says, I watched one of your videos, and that was the one from this week. And you mentioned the temp of LPS being lower. Would an LPS tank be okay at 25.2 or better at the lower temp? You mentioned 24.3. Now, these two, my K tank and my water box, that are both LPS tanks. Just going to cough 1 sec. I run both of those at 24 degrees. What, 23.8? Yeah, 23.8.
I didn't. I run mine at 25. 24 is quite low.
But LPS is collected from cooler areas in the water, and I've seen enough people who know what they're talking about, not just sort of conjecture on the internet, but people who know what they're talking about, saying cooler temperatures is actually better for LPS. But the reality is, 24 degrees or 25 degrees, it's not going to make a difference. I wouldn't feel any concern at putting them at 25. My main tank is 25 or 25.2. It tends to sit at. But the good side of that is, so I've just bought one of these, a densimeter. Have you it's called, AKA a hydrometer?
I was like, where are you going with this? What is that?
So this is, it looks like a sex toy, if I'm completely honest. But I promise it's not. It's a tropic marine hydrometer. You've never seen this before?
That is massive.
They use these. Oh, it's quite big. They use these in like distilling to measure the density or the specific gravity of whatever they're distilling. But one of the things with this is calibrated at 25 degrees. So if you're testing water that is not calibrated, that is not 25 degrees,
you'll be wrong.
I don't know how much it's going to be off, but it will be off. Whether that's a problem or not is another issue. But that is one reason. And all refractometers, all the good refractometers, are calibrated at 25. So that is one reason to run your tank temperature at 25.
Yeah.
But I don't really think it makes a huge difference.
Do you leave that in your tank permanently, or?
No. You actually. So what I found with this is that if you put it in your tank and it bobs in your tank, it doesn't give you an accurate reading at all, even if you've got all the flow off. You're supposed to put it in this 500 milliliter test tube. Test tube? What's that called?
Cylinder.
Measuring cylinder.
Yeah.
So you put it in 400 milliliters of water, and then you get an accurate result. But
you've become obsessed with salinity, haven't you?
I'm absolutely obsessed with salinity, but it's because what I've decided is that this thing, the Hannah salinity pen, lots of people swear by this, and more power to you. You should, if you like it, then keep using it. I'm not saying don't use it. I don't want to use this anymore. I don't feel I can trust this. Whether it's because it's a year old, 2 years old, however long I've had it, and it's faded, I don't know. But I don't trust this anymore. Even when I calibrate it, I don't trust it. So I want something more reliable. And I think measuring electrical conductivity, from what I can make out, is a less reliable way of measuring the amount of salt in your water than is a densimeter or a refractometer.
It's interesting. That is controversial, because most people disagree.
I don't think most people would disagree with the fact that a refractometer is more reliable than a digital pen. What's it called? I just said what it was. Can't remember what it was. But I don't think people would disagree with that generally. And these things, the hydrometer, it's not a swing arm hydrometer for the podcast people. It's a floating, also known as a densimeter.
Yeah.
They are, in theory, that can't be wrong.
I just wonder. It's like, because we obviously discussed this off the live stream, but you have a whole range of different methods of testing salinity now, and they all come back with something different, don't they?
Yes and no. So what I found is that the stuff I'm now using is fairly consistent with each other.
Okay.
Within a fair range, and now I trust. So last week I think I'd bought the the Hana digital refractometer, but I don't think it had arrived, or it had just arrived. No, it hadn't arrived.
It hadn't arrived last week, no, because you sent me a video of you using it the next day.
Yes, there you go. So now I've only had it for a week, but I trust this and the densimeter more than I trust my Hana salinity pen.
But when you first got your Hana salinity pen, you trusted that, didn't you?
It's very true indeed.
So it's just an illusion.
But I'm more. I understand more about. I've done a lot more research about salinity now than before. But nonetheless, you're quite right. It could be that part of the reason is because it's a 350 quid piece of equipment. So I might be thinking foolishly, 350 quid is more likely to be accurate than an 80 quid piece of kit.
Possibly foolishly, we don't know.
Exactly, yeah. But anyway, that's I'm not saying this is facts, and this is the thing. So I thought about making a video, and I'm going to make a video about the test kits I use at some point. But I don't want to opine on this area on a video that I publish until I've had these for a long time. Because when I got my salinity tester, the Hana pen, I would have said this is the best thing since sliced bread, and now I don't like it. So it might be the same for those. So in a year's time, I'll talk about those. But for now, I'll just talk about other test kits I use loads. But
it's interesting because, as I said, I use the salinity pen and I calibrate it. And you are correct; it does go. It does lose its calibration, but I calibrate it literally every week just before I use it. So
I even find now that I don't know, and the trouble is, you can't. There's no 100% certain way of guaranteeing. I know what my salinity is, therefore I know what I can test against it. But I feel like these are more reliable than the Hana one and the pen.
How have we been doing this long? And we're just getting our head around salinity testing.
I know. Well, this is the thing. But the thing with this is, what I realised is I've never had issues with salinity really, or certainly not that I'm aware of, and because it just looks after itself. No.
Do you remember a time when you had
no, until the last year or so.
Oh, I see.
And over the last year or so, I've had several issues. My salinity spiked. Bearing in mind I've got 3 tanks, it's probably spiked on. If one tank is one occasion, it's probably spiked 4 or 5 times between all the tanks. And that's up to the point of like 37, 38 parts per thousand.
Yeah. And
that's a lot. And I've never had those problems before I had the Hana pen. I'm not saying it's because of that, but one thing I did, I'd asked you the other day, how many grams of Tropic Marin Pro Reef salt do you mix per litre of water? And the reason you said, you can find the answer online. I was like, yeah, I know that. But I want to know what you do, because I've worked out what I do testing on my water changer against the Hana pen. And I looked at the results on, I look online and I'm adding about 10% more than you should according to the instructions.
Oh. And
I've always thought, well, that's because just instructions aren't 100% accurate. It gives a range anyway. But if you work out, my salinity got to 38.5 parts per thousand, which is 10% higher than 35 parts per thousand. So it stands to reason
why it would be
that
why that would happen.
Yeah. So, but this is the thing. I've never had issues with it until the last year or so, and in the last year I've had several issues, which it just seems I don't like that.
Yeah, I think I said to you, like, how does anyone do this?
It's a bloody nightmare, isn't it?
Well, I wonder if like half of the people, it's just luck that it's just going well for them, because they're all using all of these devices. But
salinity generally looks after itself. So if you get it right from day one and you put an auto top off on, it's probably not going to change. Realistically.
True.
If you're mixing your because if you measure out your water change salt correctly first time round, and then you say you need 1 kilogram of salt and you use the same amount every time, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely that you'll have a problem. But for whatever reason, I have, and I like to blame anyone but myself. So I'm blaming the equipment.
Basically.
Did you ever watch the Office, the UK Office?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
There's an episode when Gareth phones up the calculator company, and he's like, "I've just had a meeting with a very important client who's been, and it's been very embarrassing because I got the figures wrong." And he says, "And I've rounded it down to the only issue could be the calculator."
Yeah. I saw it a long time ago, probably like 10 years ago. But
anyway, so that's part of what I've been up to. But the main thing was the ammonia thing, the ammonia setup.
Okay.
And there's something else I've been up to, but I'm going to save that for the Facebook section. What have you been up to?
So not a lot, in all honesty. That's genuinely true. Not a lot. Not much has changed this week. It was my last week of shipping this week, so I had a lot of orders come in because for some reason you tell people you're not shipping anymore, and all of a sudden loads of people put orders in. It's like I've got to get it in before Christmas. Yeah. I had loads of gift cards bought. That has been brilliant. Which is nice. So basically, I can see the people who are buying them, and I can see, and some of my regular customers have the same names as these people, so I know what everyone's Christmas presents are.
Okay. Same surnames.
Yeah, they got the same surnames, and they live at the same addresses. So, the King Eye obviously was put into the water box last week. Surprisingly, I was sitting there today actually. While I was just watching it, I was like, "It's really nice this tank at the moment, because there's no aggression, like literally none."
Yeah,
it's like. I've only got one tang in there. Obviously, I have two angels, and I was a bit concerned that the King Eye and the Majestic might not get on.
Yeah.
I've never seen them show any aggression towards each other, not one bit, which I was surprised by, because if I had two tangs in there, they would be absolute bastards, because that's just what they're like.
But this is why I hate tangs. I love peace in my reef. I hate any aggression. It stresses me out.
So I was sitting there thinking, do I really want to add any more tanks to that tank? And I did all the water testing today, and I think the nitrate is, I think, 1, I think at the moment. So it's quite low. And the phosphate is 0.02. I'm like, this is like the perfect, like, it's good. Let's just stay like this at the moment. Let's not get out of control like phosphate normally does. So do I want to add loads of fish, or do I just fill out with corals now? See, I like adding.
As you add more corals, they'll consume more.
That's true.
Of everything, so you need to add more fish to balance, or feed more to balance out.
That is true. Yeah. See, I think I like fish because coral is my work. So I think I get more enjoyment out of fish these days. So I love watching. Don't make that face. Don't make that like sexual innuendo face for the people that aren't watching. Yeah, I think so. I might add one more angel. I'm thinking about a blue face. That's what I was thinking today. But I just wonder if that will upset everything.
You had a blue face before. What happened to it? Did it?
I lost all the angels with.
Oh, of course, it was one of those. Yeah.
Thanks for reminding me.
Sorry.
Thanks
I know. I hesitated as I started saying that.
It's Yeah, so I am wondering if I want to get another angel, just because, as I said, they're nice, they're peaceful at the moment. Yeah. So, what do I want to upset everything? But you
want to get a regal angel. Ideally, get one off a mate so you know what it's like.
Well, I know a mate who's got one. Do you know this?
No.
Jamie's getting rid of his.
Oh, because didn't it peck at his trackie?
Yeah. So I definitely don't want it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely don't want that.
The Majestic eats coral, 100%. I sit there all day watching it eat coral. Yeah. But it's not damaging it. It's not doing too much damage. And weirdly, this is what I told you on Monday, wasn't it? The King Eye nips the urchins. It eats those little tube feet. I don't
so the tube feet, are they the little sort of strandy things?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it will just
covers it entire shell.
Yes, and it will just swim over to it and just take a bite out of it. And I'm like,
that's funny.
Do I need to remove the urchin? They don't seem to be like too bothered. They just keep going about their business.
Yeah.
But I just wondered if that's harming them. I mean, do you want one of your foot bitten
No,
off?
no, I don't.
But then they got thousands of them, and I wonder if they're almost designed to do that. Otherwise,
See,
why
I
have you
didn't
got
realize
thousands?
that's what because people talk about tube feet of echinoderms and urchins, and I didn't really realize that's what they were. But that's what, like, when you see an urchin walking around the tank, walking in inverted commas,
Yeah.
they sometimes they hang off like the side of their shell, and that's obviously gripping on with a tube feet, which I don't realize. That's cool.
You see them when they go up against the glass, they'll be walking that way, and all of a sudden they'll just start moving upwards.
Yeah.
Feet on the
Really
side
cool.
start to grab on. But I might put them back in the coral farm. I've still got diatoms in that tank. I've got no cyano or dinoflagellates anymore. But diatoms are usually caused by silicates. I'm not sure. I'm going to send off an ICP probably this week just to see what all the normal testing is coming back basically perfect. So I'm not sure what as I said, the silicates are coming from somewhere.
Perfect.
Well, when I say perfect, the calcium is 420, the alkalinity is 8.2, the magnesium is 1,350, I think, or 360, I think, today. And then the nitrate, as I said, is a bit low nitrate, being just, I raised that up to 10. It's come back down to 1. And that's happened quite quickly.
In all of my tanks, that's the one thing I struggle with. Actually, the water box, my nitrates are, what were they, 12.5 last time I measured, but normally they're a little bit higher than that. But in my other tanks, in my Cade and my main tank, keeping nitrates up is a bigger challenge for me than keeping them down.
Well, I think most people these days struggle with getting them up rather than keeping them down these days.
If you struggle with getting up, then so job for another podcast. But
which is opposite to I'm just going to ignore you, which is the opposite to phosphate, because phosphate is almost always like much more difficult to maintain than nitrate these days.
Yeah. One thing I did find with so I had a Cyperax in my main tank, and I had to remove a lot of that because my nitrates kept going so low. So I find Cyperax is extremely effective at reducing nitrate. I still have some in there. Well, it could be a coincidence. Maybe I changed other things, but I don't think I did. So
are those the ceramic media things like MaxSpec do some blocks, don't they? I found the same thing. A lot of people think that they need like 3 or 4 of them when they first start a tank. I think I had 3 in I think 2,500 liters for the coral farm. I had to take them out because I couldn't get any nitrate.
It was, I think they started in Brazil with the Cyperax, because Cyperax is pond media, but Brazilian reefers started using stacking Cyperax in like massive crates. And it was really effective at reducing nitrate and phosphate, actually. And I tried that. There was a spell on Ultimate Reef, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, where everybody was doing this, and I was like, cool, I'll give it a crack, because there were some wicked tanks. And what I found was it was so effective. I had to pull out loads of it because you put in a lot, but it's so effective. It was far too effective, and you don't actually need that much, or unless you're putting in tons of coral food and fish food and all these.
There was one more thing. Every so often, a parcel arrives at my house, and I think to myself, where has this parcel come from? I have not ordered anything. And I got a new present today. It's not looking its best because it's not full at the moment. But I got my very own Prestige Reef. But it's made by Reef Dork. This is on the Reef Dork Etsy page, isn't it?
reefdork.etsy.com, correct?
There you go. See, look, I'm whoring myself out for you.
This is what it's supposed to look like when it's full of stuff.
Oh yeah, see, I didn't fill it up.
You've got the one with the space for a Hannah Salinity pen as well, and I can see that you don't have the Hannah Salinity pen in it.
Well, that's because I was using it just before the stream. However, I would like to make a complaint. I live my life in a form of organized chaos, basically. And now that I put my Salinity pen in there, I can never find it.
Because it's always in the same place.
Because my Salinity pen is always all over the place, and I usually remember where I put it down. Whereas now it's always in the same place, I can never find it.
That's a strange logic, but okay.
That's my complaint. So it's currently back where it belongs, sitting on top of my salt bucket in the farm. But yeah, I'm doing a water change at the moment. That's why that's why it's not on there.
I have the Hana Salinity pen. There's about 7 places in my house that I generally it tends to be.
But and
I have to go around each of these 7 places to find it. And I'm like, sometimes I have to look like 4 times.
I'm not even joking. It was in the bathroom earlier. I'm like, how did you even get here? Like literally, how did you get it? It was sitting on the bathroom sink. And I'm like, I must have gone in there and run it under tap water after testing it. But I was spending like 10 minutes. I'm like, I cannot find this. And I blame your thing, because that's where it was before. And this is the original one. This is the prototype of the this was the original one you sent me, wasn't it?
That was one of the first ever ones.
That was the first ever one you made. This is like prestige reef history. And I know you don't want people to get jealous about my custom made one, because you don't do custom orders, do you?
I don't at the moment. So, but the whole point of the personalized, because I've had a couple of people, sort of 3 or 4 people, ask for personalized ones, because at the moment it just says Reef Dork on the front.
Yeah.
But a few people have said I want it with my own name on it.
Okay.
That was too complicated.
Demanding.
Like, I don't know, whatever reef tag you use. But that was too complicated for me to do before. But it's not anymore, and I'm going to start doing it maybe next week with a bit of luck.
Oh.
So you will be able to do that. But,
so I won't be special anymore. I thought
you'll always be special to me, Ryan.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah. So apologies for helping you lose your thing.
It's what I will say is it's nice that you said. So I never know. Alex does this pretty regularly. It's usually something weird where I open it. I'm like, what is this? You sent me a little red button once, didn't you?
Yeah, for the camera.
Goes on top of the camera. I'm like. Yeah. Actually, the first time that was sent, it was just an empty envelope, wasn't it?
It had fallen out, yeah.
But it's I get a little present every so often, and it just says "to my co-host."
I sent you something else before as well. What was it? Super glue or something?
Was it super glue or some?
Oh, I can't remember.
No, I can't remember.
Yeah, every now and then I'm like, Prestige will like this.
Yeah. So interesting. You never get anything back in return, do you?
I know. I was waiting. This is a hint, all right. I'm waiting for like that black and red Lobo to turn up.
That is true. That is true. Well, you wouldn't want it, would you? You keep making fun of it.
Chuck it away.
Yeah. So.
Well, there was one last thing I'm going to follow up on salinity. There was a funny comment I saw. But I've lost it now. It was taking the mick out of. Oh, here we go. Yeah, aquatic interests. Most reef podcasts talk about dosing. Prestige Reef Talk, 1 hour of salinity talk. And to continue that 1 hour of salinity talk, Phil Fusser says, Alex, couldn't you take a quick Hana pen reading every time you measure salinity with the more accurate equipment and record the error to prove your theory? I've done that. That's kind of where this started. So I sent off a Reef Elements ICP test. They've got a fancy version of the ICP test. Cost another tenner, 36 quid, which is quite a lot of money. But it tests all sorts of other things, one of which is salinity. And that came in, it showed my main tank at, or it showed it was 38.5. I then measured the Hana salinity pen. It was way lower. I can't remember what it was. But the Reef Elements ICP, my Hana refractometer, and my densimeter were all roughly the same. And my Hana pen was, and my standard eyeglass refractometer were all roughly the same. The Hana pen was the one that was out. So I've done that. But I couldn't tell you exactly what it was, and I can't be asked to go through the process. Because when you start checking these things against each other, that's a mugs game. You're always going to end up with a different reading. So I don't think that's necessarily helpful.
Basically, as long as it's kept within a window, it's fine.
Because none of these are 100% accurate. I don't care if my salinity is 33 parts per thousand or 33.5, for example.
Yeah. But
it needs to be within 33 to 35 would be my dream. If I could, and I'm going to aim on all my tanks for 34, because then that builds in a margin of error. But anyway, salinity, shut up, enough. What was I going to do? I think.
Member questions.
Oh man, you're jumping on, right?
Well, last time we were out of control, weren't we?
We were. Out of control,
we just completely. So I'm keeping an eye on the time this time.
Okay. Well, I was going to talk about something else, but no, we'll move on.
What do you want to talk
about? So cheap lights.
Okay, let's move on.
So I'll very quickly. I've always been a bit snobby with cheap lights.
Yeah.
Apart from Evergrow, which are not that cheap actually, but I've got a with the Reef Casa kit. It comes with what they call a Reef Halo light, and it's actually a Aqua Night V2. I can't remember what it's called now. It's actually really good. The
interesting.
shimmer is fantastic. It's only got 3 color channels, like 2 shades of blue and a white. So it's not full spectrum. So I don't know what the spectrum's like, but it looks wicked. And I went looking for a more powerful one to see if I could find something for a bigger tank. But there's no such thing. They only do like I think it's a 30 watt or something. But
how does it compare to other like similar sized lights in terms of price then? Because you said cheap light. What's classified as cheap?
So it's so if you buy the Aquanite V2, I don't know how much the Reef Halo one is. You have to look on the Fragbox website. The Aquanite V2, which it's based on, is £90. Okay. And I think it's the equivalent of an AI Hydra. No, what's it called? AI Prime.
Yeah.
Which is £225. So much less.
Yeah.
And it's not as full spectrum as a Prime, but it's pretty impressive, and the shimmer looks fantastic. So I'm starting to be a tiny bit less snobby. And I started looking at, there's a brand called Noop Psych, stupid name.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah, they actually look all right as well. And I went looking, I almost bought one yesterday, just because. I'm not going to change my lights, but I just wanted to know what it was like.
Yeah,
I've been asking people on Ultimate Reef about it. Anyway, all right, so we're going to move on to Facebook page. But first, we're going to look at member questions.
Yeah.
And the member questions, there was one question from Josh Hill, who says, I'll try to make this brief. He's got a situation where his alk consumption is playing up in a tank upgrade. Why are you smirking?
Because anyone that's trying to keep things brief usually doesn't start the sentence with, I'll try to keep this brief.
He followed with a follow-up comment. Sorry, that was not brief.
No, there you go. That's why.
But anyway, so he says, and it's not brief. He's got a problem with it. So he's doing a tank upgrade, and he's upgraded after the seal failed on one of his tanks.
Okay.
Nasty. Moved all over his rock and coral parameters matched, he says. Doesn't say what they are. Very heavily stocked with acros, and he's now having enormous alk consumption. Oh, sorry, he was dosing 60 milliliters per day of dosing, Reef Elements Part 1. And suddenly his alk has dropped from 8 to 6 overnight. It's not precipitating as far as I can tell, but I don't know what is causing the enormous alk swings overnight, especially after achieving a few days of stability. Have come around to the idea that lots of money worth of SPS will be toasted, but it's a real battle trying to achieve stability. Have either of you experienced this? So your alkalinity will drop if your corals are using more whatever, they're using more alkalinity.
If they're growing, basically.
Exactly. And if you do a tank upgrade, you can swap over all you like. Nothing will be exactly the same. So it might be that in your old tank there was something in there that was retarding growth. Whether it was the dirty sand
retarding.
bed.
Do you mean inhibiting?
Well, retarding is the correct word.
Is it?
I'm not saying retard. It's retarding. Anyway, inhibiting. All right.
Yeah.
We'll say inhibiting. There might be something that was inhibiting growth, or it might be that you moved over your tank and you're getting more light. You might have kept the exact same lights and moved them over the exact same percentages, but maybe the tank the sand bed is new, so it's brighter, so it's bouncing more light up. Or
that's what I mean. I was going to ask about the sand. I was going to ask about it's literally just going out of my head. Why is it going out of my head? Did you do a massive water change, for example, when you're doing?
Well, if he's upgraded, it's effectively
which would lower phosphate, which would then means that more calcium, the corals can grow faster and things like that. So it's the sort of thing you can't answer from that one question without asking loads of other questions to go with it.
But when you upgrade a tank, you might think everything is the same. It's not.
But it's not.
There will be some changes, so the chances are that's just your corals are enjoying themselves a bit more and they're uptaking more. But I don't know if he was saying it was just like a one-off dip or if it was every night it's a dip. But you can just adjust your alkalinity. I wouldn't fret too much with that, but it can be. I have had that same issue cause problems with my SPS before. I lost a colony when I had I removed that. I sold a massive lump of rock to you that was covered in coral.
Yeah, it was to me, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I had a 1 decade swing in a space of 24 hours that I didn't manage to catch in time, and I lost one of my favorite colonies.
Yeah.
But that was probably because there was some underlying issue. But that's the answer.
Yeah.
There is a super chat from regular commenter Woody's Gamer Tag. Thank you very much. opinions on carbon dosing combined with refugium. I think you were the same as me. You don't like carbon dosing.
No, I did carbon dosing for years.
Okay.
So yeah,
I take it back.
yeah, I've never had a refugium, but I did carbon dosing for years. It works as far as I'm concerned.
The thing I don't like about it is too effective. It works
it
really
is very
well.
effective.
So if you test all the time, no problem. You can adjust it, and it's great. You can dial it in really easily. Although it pulls out nitrates more than it does phosphates.
That is the problem.
But I find if you take your eye off the ball, even for a couple of weeks, and you're dosing too much, you strip out your nutrients.
Oh, that's why you probably think I didn't like it, because for a long time I was essentially not overdosing, but I had a very, very low nutrient system without realizing. This was before I knew what I was doing. Yeah. So my corals, I did know what I was doing, but I had a full SPS tank that was well past the limit because it was basically stripped out all the nitrate. It's interesting because they say on the bottles of some of these carbon dosing products that you don't use other phosphate removers with them, but it just doesn't work the same for phosphate.
No, completely.
and I was using it. I was using Roaphos at the same time as them as well. So,
and I think I don't know the reasoning behind companies saying that. Maybe it's just because you don't want to strip out too much. I don't think they have. There's some other chemical reaction between the two that is an issue.
Okay.
I think it's just saying, look, this is going to strip your phosphates out, so don't use phosphate media.
Yeah.
But the second part of this question is combined with a refugium. All of these methods, skimmer, roller mat, carbon dosing, refugium, they're the methods of achieving the same thing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really matter as a general rule. It doesn't matter how you control your nitrate and phosphate, as long as you do control your nitrate and phosphate.
Yeah.
There are pros and cons of everything. So Roaphos will leach was it not aluminium? Yeah, aluminium, iron. And the other stuff that is not Roaphos, is Seachem stuff, that will absorb iron and leach aluminium. And Roaphos absorbs aluminium. So there's pros and cons of all methods.
Yeah.
But
they will also compete with each other. So what's the benefit of carbon dosing combined with a refugium?
Well, if you have a refugium that's working, but your nutrients are still high, you need to do something else. So carbon dose.
Yeah. But will that not just slow the growth of the algae even more?
I don't know. Never done it. Oh well, no, it's not true. I have done it. I didn't monitor it that closely.
Yeah. Because I think that's what happens with all of these things. They all compete with each other, so they all do have a place. Yeah. But if you put all of them in, you're going to have a tank with no nutrients in at all.
And they all do different things as well. So refugiums will strip out certain trace elements as well, because algae eats trace elements.
Yeah.
But the plus side is that it'll boost your pH.
And probably your copepod population as well.
And yeah, good point. Someone I was talking to someone today or yesterday, I think, who said they put their refugium in the last section before the return pump, because then any pods will go straight into the return pump and into the tank. I thought it was quite a good idea. But yeah, I mean, carbon dosing combined with the refugium, if your nutrients require it, yeah, cool. If they don't, then don't.
And if the algae starts dying, cut back the carbon dosing because you're taking its food source.
Yeah, this is very true. So that was the only member question. On the Facebook page, there were two things I wanted to bring up. One of them was from top contributor Alex Brooksmith, good looking bloke as well.
Not from what I've heard.
He posted a poll that said, question for you all, can corals survive in high levels of ammonia? Yes or no?
I don't think they can survive in high levels of ammonia. They can tolerate some ammonia.
Yeah, I was a bit vague on that. I didn't specify exactly what levels I meant.
Oh yeah, it was you that asked this question.
It was. Well, you know my name. I just said
no, I knew it was you, but I got distracted by something, and then I came back to answer the question. Yeah, I got a text message from someone. So
okay, well, so it was 80% said yes, 20% said no.
Yeah,
and the answer is yes. So, and actually, the reason I posted that was because this side in the Reef Casa tank, I decided, because Jake Adams always used to say that. He used to say you can whack in a load of coral straight from day one because they don't care about ammonia. I'm sure there is a tipping point, but and I thought, well, it's I still don't think it's a good idea to do so, but I thought, well, let's try that so I know for myself.
Okay.
And I have some zoas, nothing exciting, but some zoas in the Reef Casa. There is ammonia in there, and the zoas are fine. They're not looking fantastic, but that's probably because there's zero nutrients. But half of them are open, half of them are closed. It's all right.
Yeah. You should put. You got loads of coral. You should put some other stuff in there just to see how it does. Just take
I've got loads I can put in. I just can't. I don't want to overload it. I want to take things slowly.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to try. But the other thing I was going to put up from Facebook page, from the Prestige Reef Dork Show Facebook page, which you should go and join, is from Daniel Sanders, who says, "Question for the Brains Trust." So he's not talking to you and
That's
me.
not us.
No. Oh, actually, no, wrong one. Sorry.
So definitely not us.
This was from Mark Swan. This is the question I meant to put up. He said, looking at the Hannah test eggs, what are the main ones to get? And the reason I thought about answering that one is because I will always, until this weekend, I always used to say alkalinity. Although if you've, like, someone posted this week on the Facebook page, they had a softy tank. And I was like, well, the alkalinity one is really good, but it's overkill for a softy tank. If you do test alkalinity, just use a 10 quid Saltwater. Anyway, the ones that are good, until this weekend, I would have said alkalinity, nitrate high range, and phosphate ultra low range. You use the phosphorus instead of the phosphate ultra low range. But either way, I think you would say the same thing: alk, nitrate high range, and phosphate.
Correct. Yes. Oh, and I use the pen as well, but you don't like it. So
no.
But you're talking about the eggs, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But that's changed because so part of this, I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I bought this weekend. I bought the calcium one.
Okay.
The calcium tester, and I've had one of these before, but it was a long time ago. And the reason I bought it was because I wanted to make a caddy, obviously little that you can buy from reefdork.at.com.
Okay.
So I needed to know what you got in the kit and all that sort of stuff. But and because apparently that's quite a popular one. But whatever. Anyway, so one thing I noticed with this though, I looked up how to use it. Last time I had this, I'm sure it was a pain in the arse.
That was the last time I tested. It was a pain in the arse as well.
It's now really easy. I don't know if they've changed it or if I'm just not remembering correctly. But you put in, I can't remember the process. There are 2 reagents, so it's still a tiny bit of a faff. But you put in one. And then you shake, you invert it 5 times, liquid reagent, and then you pour in the sachet powder reagent. You shake it for 15 seconds, bang, you get your result. So, and I'm sure
you've still got that really, really tiny measurement to get a really tiny amount.
But it comes with this little pipetta, so this measures 0.1 milliliters exactly.
I probably didn't watch. I probably didn't watch the YouTube video on how to do it.
No,
and I probably tried to wing it from looking at the instructions.
I'm sure it was different. It was so long ago I can't remember. But I suddenly now I'm looking. I know this is the only thing is I'm not looked into because like the magnesium one when they brought that out, there were problems with the reagents and it was a bit funny. Yeah. So I don't know if this is a reliable one or if some people have issues with it. But on the face of it, the instructions when you see the instructions, it's really quick. And I used to say don't bother with the calcium, but I'm not sure I'd say that anymore. I've not tried using it yet, so I'll try using it. But interesting. So anyway, the answer would be alkalinity, nitrate high range, phosphate ultra low range, and potentially the calcium, but I'm not going to commit to that one yet. And Ryan would say phosphorus and the salinity pen.
The phosphorus one's meant to be. It's funny how there's these things that we believe are to be true only because we've been told by other people that they are true. So the ultra low range phosphorus is meant to be the most accurate based on what BRS told me. So I can't tell you if it's the most accurate from personal experience. That's just what I have been told.
I'd heard that before. I couldn't tell you where from, but maybe it was the same place, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah. But the reason I don't like the phosphorus one is because you have to do a conversion.
Yeah.
So when you get the phosphorus result,
easy though. You don't even worry anymore because you just go as long as it's below 10, you're fine.
Okay. But when I had this was my alkalinity one.
Yeah.
I used to have this is the one that gives you a result in DKH. I used to have the one that gives you a result in parts per million.
Oh.
And so it would say your alkalinity would be 123.
Yeah.
I can tell you that's around 7-ish. But you have to go 123 times by 0.056 or something like that to get the result. And it was just so annoying. So I don't want that. That's why I had the phosphate one. Even if it's slightly less accurate, I'm cool with that because it saves me 3 seconds and I'm lazy.
Well, or you could just, as I said, just change what number you're aiming for. So rather than aiming for 0.02, just aim for 6.
No, I don't like that. No, you're making my brain go.
So, because that's all I do.
Steve Webb says the V2 magnesium has been sorted, and I like it. I don't know what the process is for that. The point of the calcium one is I was impressed that the procedure was actually a lot easier than I thought it was. But so those are the questions from the Facebook page, and we're going to move on because I know Ryan's going to get antsy. Oh, actually, no, that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. So with the new Hannah checker, of course, you get new cuvettes.
Yeah,
new cuvettes, which I'll put up there. All nice and shiny. And one thing I realized when I got this, so obviously cuvettes get dirty over time because they get stained with reagent.
Yeah.
You're supposed to rinse them out straight away, which I always do. But seeing those cuvettes, brand new ones, right next to my existing ones, my old ones that I've had for however long, it is amazing how clean. I thought my old ones were clean. These are much cleaner. So
I fill mine with RO water. So, but I don't know if that keeps them clean or not. But
I'm sure it will do, but it won't keep them this clean.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to replace all of my old ones with brand new ones. They're quite expensive.
You're addicted to buying stuff.
I know. You're addicted to not buying stuff.
You cannot stop buying stuff. Did you just say I'm addicted to not buying stuff?
Yeah,
that's so true. That's so true.
But that affects the accuracy.
No, so, I know.
They are quite expensive. I think they're 30 quid for a 4-pack.
Oh.
Crazy money for a glass tube, basically.
Think about it. So that means this is for 4. So it'd be £15 for 2 of them, and 2 come with the Hannah checker. So you can work out how much the Hannah checker costs compared to the actual cost of those.
But anyway, I just stood out. I was like, these are so clear compared to the old ones. We're going to move on to the Prestige Reef Fish of the Week now.
I remember what I was going to pick. That was very professional. I'm going to go for are you ready? Because you already know what it is, don't you?
Present screen. Yep, ready when you are.
This week I'm going for a freckled faced tang. They have another name. It begins with M, I think. But yeah, that's it. That's the scientific name of it. Nice picture.
Yeah,
I quite like these fish. That looks like quite a small one.
Yeah,
it must be small. Look at it compared to the size of the sand.
Acanthurus maculiceps.
Yeah, they're one of those tangs you don't see that often, and when you do see them, the juveniles are not as nice as the adults. I think the adults have got quite a nice look to them. They are still a bit brown.
Is that a juvie?
No, I think both those are adults. Oh no, that could be a juvenile. Actually, yeah, that's definitely an adult. The adults have like that more defined face.
Yeah,
you see with the dark and the yellow.
Okay.
Yeah, I suppose that probably is a juvenile then. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know. I like weird tangs. So you might go, I'd have any other tang over that one, but I quite like that one.
They've grown on me. I saw one. There's a guy. I did a video of his tank a while ago who had one, and I was like, it's okay. But I don't really like big tangs generally, but they have grown on me. But I wouldn't have one.
I just remember seeing one in a shop, and it was probably 9 inches, and I was just like, that's a cool fish. But it might be the size of it that made it look like a cool fish, because you don't see fish that size normally in shops.
But you like big tanks anyway. I don't like big tanks.
Yeah, I did. Oh, one of my customers is planning a 4,000 liter tank. Oh. I'm at the moment. I'm helping him with the initial.
That's the size of your farm.
I know, but one tank.
Yeah. How big? How is that like?
We can't talk about it in case he's listening because his wife doesn't know. So, but I hope he isn't listening. I don't think he does listen. But imagine if he did.
Yeah.
She'd just go, "That's not you, is it?"
Yeah. No, 2 foot. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And the Prestige Reef Coral of the Week is there. There is no.
Oh, there is. It's Platygia, isn't it? Because
that's the Reef Dork Coral of the Week, you bastard.
Oh, so that's the Reef Dork Coral of the Week. There you go.
Because you couldn't be asked to come up with one.
Yeah.
And you said, Alex, you come up with one. And I've wanted one of these for ages, and I found one the other day. This is the one I have, purple and green.
Yeah.
But I quite like that one as well, green and red.
That's the one I like the most. That one with the pink centers.
That's a bit unusual.
Yeah, I like that one. I had one of those.
It looks like a sweet.
Yeah.
Candy.
I had a massive piece of it once. It went to one of my customers. He bought the whole thing, and it really was it was a coral that it's one of those standout corals. The pink was like really vibrant on it. So when you said to me, "Have you got one of those?" I was like, that was what I was imagining, and I was like, no, I definitely haven't got one of those. Not anymore.
Oh, okay, well, that's fair. So I printed one of these domes. You see that?
Yeah,
a dome for them to grow on. It's got a little frag plug hole at the top, and I've put my platygyra on that because I've seen platygyras before when it looks like it's like a globe. They look awesome. So that's what I want mine to end up looking like.
It'd be too unnatural for me for it to be that perfect.
Oh, it looks wicked. I love it. But okay.
I'm not sure. Not sure I'd want a perfect cylindrical object.
Okay, but that is the Reef Dork coral of the week.
Yeah. Oh yes, there you go. What have you got to tell us about it?
It's an LPS, so low light. It looks cool. It's relatively easy to keep. You don't have to feed it.
Has it got sweeper tentacles?
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I've not noticed.
Pretty sure my one did. But you only see them at night.
And I can't think says, is platygyra one of the species labelled as favia in the hobby? Coincidentally, someone on my Reef Dork Facebook page, which I've started recently, you may not know about, posted saying, "I've got this. It looks like yours. What's yours?" And mine is a platygyra. He called it a dragon soul favia, but it was a favia. But so maybe they look fairly similar. Platygyra is also known as maize coral.
Yeah.
I just think they're really nice. You don't see them very often, but they have them in Reef Keeper Moss End. So if you want one of the ones I have, the purple and green ones, I don't know how many they've got. Probably not many, but they're cool. They're really nice.
There you go.
And that
means
means
we're on the news.
We are onto the news. Bloody hell! Look at you racing along. And yes, you're keen to get started.
No, I can. In a minute, we're going to go. We'll go. So pick your fish wisely. Right. See you later.
I know. Yeah. There's quite a lot of news to talk about, I'm afraid.
Okay.
First thing, you might have seen this. So there's on the Reef Builders website, they published an art. It was a scientific study. A scientific paper has been released.
Yeah.
That quoted the value of the hobby. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I saw it earlier. They didn't ask me, to be fair. So
funny that. So what they call the marine aquarium trade.
Yeah.
And they put a price on the value of the hobby. Did you see how much it was?
2 point something billion, wasn't it?
$2.15 billion at retail. That's a lot of money. This is extrapolated from the UK, America, and Italy, bizarrely.
But half of that is the value of one bounce mushroom, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. At Polo Reef.
I wonder how much of that value is actual true value, and the other value, and how much of it is just the value that we've made up for these corals. Exactly.
Well, on that point, there are a couple of things. That's a lot bigger than I thought the hobby was, by the way.
I was surprised, and it also says it's growing, didn't it?
It does. It's so there were very long things.
It's a very long time. It's like 100 years, I mean, or like
77 years. So there are loads of stats in here. It reckons, and this is based on America, Italy, and the UK, and they've just calculated it. So how accurate? That's not going to be very accurate. But anyway, they said there are 6.7 million hobbyists worldwide, which I thought was that's higher than I thought. And they've said they expect that to grow to 45 million. And you're like, oh, 45 million, wow, that's a lot. By the year 2100.
I know, I saw that.
Can you be over 80 years?
Yeah.
It's only 2023. So if you're watching this in 2100.
Yeah. We'll both be dead.
Yeah. Well, I know, 77. Yeah, no, I'll be dead as hell. But yeah, I was a bit unusual because if you're going to say it's going to grow by 10% in the next 7 years, I can believe that. But that's a very, very inaccurate figure, I would guess.
Because I was like, oh yeah, looks like business is going to get good over the next few. Wait a minute, 70 years.
Exactly. But there are the other things in there. So they compared. I guess it's kind of similar, but they compared the size of the hobby to the industry to the size of the tuna industry.
Yeah, I saw that. Odd.
And reefing is and the marine aquarium trade is bigger than the tuna industry.
Yeah.
Which is slightly surprising, possibly, because tuna's everywhere, right?
Yeah, I'm surprised by that.
But also, I don't think it was much bigger. Was it? Can't remember.
I'm very surprised by that because of like bluefin tuna, like one fish on its own is like 1 million.
Yeah, but there aren't many bluefin tunas that you can get. Anyway, but tuna's everywhere. But anyway, this was the point that you're making about the price of the hobby. So the the average price achieved, they've weighed it in fishery. So in tuna, the average price per kilo is $3 US.
Yeah.
Guess how much price the average price per kilo of marine aquarium trade stuff is? Corals and fish and that.
30 something.
$148.
I tried to remember from what I read earlier, but I obviously didn't take it in.
So like I'm not a mathematician, but that's like 1,000,000 times more expensive than tuna.
But it is about 1,000,000 times more expensive. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm not a mathematician either.
So, but that's expensive. I guess we all knew that the hobby is expensive, but I'd be interested to see how that compares to freshwater. Corals are more expensive and that must be where most of it comes from. But
so basically, what I've learned from that study is don't keep fish, marine fish, and corals. Keep tuna.
Yeah,
that's what I've taken away from that.
Good
everyone should start setting up tuna tanks.
Yeah, but I don't know how accurate that is. I didn't read the paper, obviously. Yeah. But that sounds like it didn't sound like a really accurate. Like if they're guessing what's going to be in 77 years' time, the hell you could be a factor of 1,000,000 off. It's just, but anyway,
it's interesting because in 100 years' time or 70 years' time, there's meant to be no reefs left.
Well, yeah. It talked a bit about sustainability and all that sort of stuff. But interesting. I'm surprised how big the hobby is, to be honest. I didn't think it was a $2 billion a year hobby.
No, I didn't know that either, if I'm honest.
No. But moving on, because we do need to keep the time ticking over today because don't want to run out of time. More news. So Ecotech have brought out a Radion high intensity kit. This is, you basically swap out the lenses, the reflectors, and this is for the G5 and the G6. One of the criticisms in inverted commas, or one thing that some people don't like about the G6 Radions, is that the spread is really wide. And I found on my G6 XR15, didn't give out much par, or not as much as I was expecting anyway. So if you want more par, you can swap out the high intensity lens kit. It didn't give. It says up to 65% more par. It doesn't give much more detail than that. It doesn't say how much they are or when they're going to be out. But
that's what I'm interested. How much are they? Because if you're buying an expensive light, and then you have to buy an expensive lens to go with it,
it's just the lens. I would guess $100 or less, £100 or less. But who knows? I don't think I would. If I still had my Radion, I don't think I'd be swapping out for that. If I was putting them over my Acro tank, maybe. But anyway, it's an option. So that was one thing. The next thing was there is a new. I know you love lights, Ryan. There's a new light from Reef Factory, the Reef Flare Bar 2. So they've brought out Reef Flare Bar 1 before.
I didn't know there was a 1.
No, well, so not many people bought it. I can't work out what the difference is. I looked at the article and I've looked at the light. It looks like a slightly different shape, but I don't know what the difference is. The diodes look similar to the other ones before.
Can we just clarify something? When you said not many people bought it, you definitely bought it, didn't you?
I did not. No.
Oh, did you? No,
wow.
Wow.
I was offered one, but I didn't want it.
The one light that you don't own.
I know, but I would guess they've changed the spectrum. But one thing with Reef Factory is that the Gen 2 of their products, sometimes I feel like they've got so many products that some of them are a little bit rushed, and the Gen 2 is like a little bit of better in certain ways.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be better. But to be honest, I really like AI blades, so I would stick with those. But anyway, if you want a Reef Flare bar, there's a new one coming out. Also, pumps. You love pumps, don't you?
Oh, love them.
There's a new pump coming out. It's from DD, and I'm sure I've seen these. These are not brand new because I've seen them in a shop running in a tank before. But they're called Function with a K. I hate it when like you've changed the spelling of it. Anyway, the control box looks pretty basic, pretty awful, frankly. It looks a bit cheap. But from what I can see, this is a Jekyll pump. They look like Jekyll pumps, but they have a couple so for a start, they've got a control box that looks better than the Jekyll control box, but they've got a couple of different inlet guards as well. This one is just a standard one, but there's also an elephant trunk one that draws from the bottom of the sump. The one thing I will say about this though is they are extremely keenly priced. they are cheaper than the equivalent Jecod, which is amazing, given they look like they're based on a Jecod. Maybe they're not, but that's what they look like. But that's very impressive. And they've got a couple of things. It said it's got a pulse mode. I couldn't work this out. It says it pulses so you can create a wave just using the return pump. And it says it will do that without affecting the water level in your return pump section. I can't get my head around that. Because if you turn your return pump up or down, the water level changes. Maybe it's because maybe you need to leave it longer for it to affect the water level, but
well, no. Well, in theory, more will just go over the overflow.
If more
water is coming out, is being pumped in, more water will overflow. It's got to go somewhere, doesn't it? So it should come back just as quickly.
Whatever it says that it can have a pulse mode, which is quite a cool idea actually. Although that will put extra wear on the pump.
Yeah,
but it generates more of a wave, so cool, quite like that, and cheap. So
I just wonder how much of these sort of things actually make a difference to actually running a reef tank.
Yeah.
So my one doesn't have a pulse mode, and everything seems to be doing okay.
You don't but you can get Wi-Fi controlled return pumps. I have a Wi-Fi controlled return pump. I never use the Wi-Fi. You don't need it. You don't need a pulse. A return pump is to circulate the water to your sump. That's all you need, really. So I quite like the idea, but you're right. It's not. That's not like a revolutionary thing that's going to change the way we keep corals.
That's why there must be so many things which are just not necessary.
People buy because it sounds good.
Yes, it's just not needed. Do you remember? Do you remember the heater that was
contactless heater?
It was contactless or Bluetooth. No, it was contact. Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah. When are you getting one of those? You like buying stuff?
I might buy one of those.
Really?
because it's a Seacha heater, and Seacha are good quality. They're reliable, and it's got a 5-year warranty. So if when I upgrade my heater at some point, which I will do at some point, that'll be on my shortlist. Yeah, the contactless thing seems ridiculous, but I'm kind of intrigued. I want to try it to see if it's as stupid as it sounds. But ultimately, I don't really care about the contactless. It's a Seacha heater, and it's good.
You'll be eating your words, won't you, when you get it and you love it?
Yeah, exactly. I can envisage the video already. The most pointless product you've ever seen, brackets, is actually really good. But yeah, there are loads of things like that. There's like, we don't need that.
Yeah.
But it sounds good, doesn't it? But, and I did see it on maybe this was just danglers, but I saw people on their Instagram for the Seacha thing saying, "Oh, that's amazing! It looks so good." So maybe customers like it.
I didn't know it was out. I know we spoke about it ages ago, but I didn't know.
I went looking yesterday on the Charthouse website. You can buy it. Yeah. Anyway, more new stuff. You're going to like this, Ryan.
Okay, good.
There's a new
because so far you're not doing too well.
There's a new tank, and this is from a company called New Wave Aquaria, and they have collaborated with your mate, Mrs. Emotions.
Okay.
Oh, you're listening now, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
And they brought out this tank, which is this is what's it called? Voodoo tank, they called it. And this
must be acrylic, is it?
It is acrylic. Yeah. How do you spot that?
There's no seams.
Oh, okay, fine. It is acrylic, which I would never. That's instantly. That's for me. That's out. But that means it's very high clarity.
Yeah.
The things that stood out. The thing that stood out for this was it's 100 centimeters wide by 70 centimeters front to back by 45 tall. So it's just over 3 feet wide, just over 2 feet front to back, and 18 inches tall, which is kind of cool dimensions.
Yeah.
But that doesn't, and you can see there's this floating effect between the main tank and the doors.
Yeah.
That is a very stylized. This is a very the Emotions website or Facebook page or Instagram, whatever it is very stylized, very minimalist. It's that kind of design. And I think it's cool, but it just doesn't really appeal to me. But you really like that, don't you?
I like the minimalist design. Not sure I would like an acrylic tank. I wouldn't have an acrylic tank. The problem is they scratch. That's the biggest thing. I was literally just thinking a minute ago, someone needs to invent some sort of acrylic tank that doesn't scratch.
Scratch-proof acrylic.
Yeah, so stop inventing pumps that we don't need with pulsing things. Stop inventing contactless heaters. Someone invent an acrylic tank that doesn't scratch. It's probably not possible because obviously it's plastic, isn't it? And I am assuming there's no way to have some sort of hybrid glass tank. I'm assuming I don't think they could. You can connect them with each other. But yeah, if someone can invent an acrylic tank that doesn't scratch, they'll be millionaires. Probably multi-millionaires.
This is true. One thing I've just thought of it with that the pulsing return pump. For most tanks, you don't want that. But if you don't have power heads in your tank, if you have a small tank, sometimes people don't like putting power heads in small tanks. That might be quite cool. But anyway.
Yeah, true.
Next story on the news. 2 more things left. One is it's on BBC News.
Wow, we're that's like proper high level now, aren't we?
It's not technically about the hobby, but it's coral reefs in Turks and Caicos Islands, and you might think that I'm butchering the pronunciation of Turks and Caicos, but it's a British colony, so I'm pronouncing it right. So
okay,
it's probably a Spanish word, and it's probably Kaisos or something like that. But anyway, I digress. Turks and Caicos, because I'm a chav. They've got the same, so it's not a million miles from Florida, and they've got similar bacteria type issues as Florida have that's infecting corals.
Yeah.
And they're using antibiotics. Now, I tried to have a look to see, because I was like, oh, I wonder if it's ciprofloxacin. I couldn't find out from this what it was. It talked about amoxicillin, but I've used amoxicillin on, I can't remember, like a tooth issue or something before. So I've taken amoxicillin.
Yeah, it's a pretty common thing.
Really common, I think. Yeah,
I think that's what they for what's the throat one you get? Tonsillitis. I'm pretty sure they give you amoxicillin for that.
Maybe. I don't.
I'm basically a doctor these days.
Yeah, it sounds like it. But whatever. Anyway, so that's a comment. I don't think this was amoxicillin, but it didn't say ciprofloxacin. But you can see that they get it in a paste.
I was going to say, how are they putting it on there?
I know. Yeah, just like dose it into the ocean.
Yeah.
They put it in a paste and put it around the base of the coral, and they've had some success with it. Yeah, it does talk about the obvious thing with this on this article. It says, yeah, but then you develop, because the way antibiotics work is they kill all the bacteria, all the bad bacteria, whatever. And this is, again, I'm probably getting, if you're a doctor and you're watching this going, just chill out.
I'm basically a doctor, as we just discussed.
Exactly. So. Yeah, we're both doctors. I've just realised we're both wearing grey t-shirts. Anyway,
I was going to say at the very, very beginning, did we get dressed together today?
Yeah.
I forgot to mention it.
But anyway, so I can't remember what I was saying now. What was I saying?
Something about being a doctor. It was well worthwhile.
Yeah.
You were saying how about bacterial resistance.
Oh yeah, but so bacteria develop resistance to antibiotics because it will kill 99% of them, and then it won't get the last. Well, it's not strong enough or whatever to get the last percent of bacteria, and then those ones reproduce, and because they've been exposed to a small dose of the stuff, they can resist it, and that's how the resistance builds up, apparently. So that's one thing they were talking about. That's a potential issue, and they didn't really explain the way around it. But I just thought it was interesting that they were using antibiotics in proper reefs.
There's actually a much bigger issue than that.
What's that?
Think about the manpower. To do this. So it's not even easy to repopulate a reef. It takes hours and hours and like hundreds of people to do it properly, and it's not cost effective to do it. Now that's on just a small area. They have to do that across individual corals where they have to sit there and put paste along all the lines of them. They could probably do one every 10 minutes or something.
Well, it's like that the contest they have every year in Florida where they go down, they send people down to kill lionfish.
Yeah.
There were like 1,000 people took part. They killed 250,000 lionfish, and it doesn't touch the sites.
Yeah, and that's what it might be good for in Florida where there's literally like a few colonies left of some of these species. There's not like hardly any of them, but so it's easy because it's localized. They can just stay, and it's handy there's only a few left. But if it's like vast fields of it, it's like it's never going to make a dent, is it?
No.
So they should be dosing it instead.
Best
thing to do, just put it in front of the power head in the ocean, and then just let it go everywhere.
Yeah, they should get put a pulsing return pump in the ocean.
Sometimes I wonder what people are thinking when they comment. Look at the last comment that just came
I'm naked in bed watching you boys, kissy face. I mean, it's the weirdest comment possibly ever, but so congratulations. Well done, Dean. Please don't touch yourself. That's all I'd ask. We'll move on. And what was I going to say about that? Oh, there's one.
My mind's gone blank now.
I don't want to know what you're thinking about. The one last thing I wanted to talk about. So last week I said that there should a reefing company should sponsor us to go to Interzoo, and we'll make videos and all that sort of stuff and feedback.
Okay, where's this going?
I had a phone call this week.
No, you didn't.
It was from Quick Fit. They wanted to know what time I was booked in for my tyres. I've not had a single contact from anybody, Ryan. Wow. All I asked for was a free holiday, and I give nothing in return.
It's funny you say it, because I've been contacted by like 4 people, but they said don't tell Reef Dork.
We asked for all we wanted was a free, all expenses paid holiday.
Stop dragging me into this. We did not want this. All you wanted.
All right, all I wanted was a free, all expenses paid holiday for 2 people, and I was going to give you nothing in return, and no one's taken me up on the offer.
I'm surprised.
It's a sad state of affairs, Ryan.
Not good. Not good. People, they're all saving money at the moment for Christmas.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that is the end of the news. Actually, this is a good suggestion for my
Yeah, I'm in.
Free holiday to Hawaii to swim with yellow tangs. So if any reefing companies want to pay for us to do that, again, you don't get anything whatsoever in return.
I will do something in return. You can have my soul.
There you go. You can have Ryan's soul.
It's not worth a lot these days.
No, and that's what you get. So So that brings us on to the headline topic, and there's only an hour and 16. I don't like it when we rush.
It wasn't an hour and 16. It was actually an entire week and an hour and 16.
2 hours last week.
Yeah.
3 hours, 3 o'clock. I feel rushed today, Ryan.
Do you?
I'm surprised you set the pace early on. You were like, yeah, let's go. Facebook questions.
No, it's because I had nothing to say about my week in reefing. So I was like, let's pretend, because I don't want people to know that I had a week off, basically.
All right. Well, anyway, we're on to the headline topic. We're going to finish this early tonight now, and this is all your fault. Well, so, Ryan, the topic today then.
I got nothing to talk about.
Well, you better bloody have, because otherwise you're in trouble.
It's all on you.
The topic today, 117 hours, is how to choose saltwater fish for a reef tank.
Okay.
So,
what would you like to discuss?
I would like you to tell me, Ryan, what should people...
We're dragging this out now, aren't we? We're talking
No, I've got a list of stuff that I've got into bullet points.
I also have some bullet points as well.
Have you really? Interesting.
I do, yeah. So I did some homework.
What do you consider when you're buying fish?
Well, the first thing, the first thing that people need to do, this is even before you even put a single fish in, is decide what you want from your tank. Firstly, that's like the number one thing, because that will dictate everything else. So for example, if you want to have corals, you don't go and buy an angelfish. Basically, especially if you're a beginner of any type, there are so many people that buy bicolors and lemon peels angelfish, thinking because they've been told that they're semi-reef safe, and they're generally not. Really? Yeah, I know. I've had loads of people where they're going, "Oh, something's wrong with my corals." This is on the consultations. I'm like, "Well, you've got a lemon peel in there. What do you expect?"
I thought they were like some of the most notoriously not reef safe.
They are some of the worst, like dwarf angels. There's only 2, maybe 3 dwarf angels which are sort of semi-acceptable, which are the flame, coral beauty, and the golden angel. Actually are meant to be pretty good, but there you don't see those very often.
Okay.
The golden angel are pretty good because they
gold flake. Yeah, no, you never see the bastards.
You never see them. So when your coral goes missing, you didn't realize it was the angel because you didn't see it.
Yeah.
So the first thing you decide is what you want. So don't like. So my very, very first tank, I bought a lionfish, and I didn't realize how restrictive that was. And that's what I made a video on this once, where you can have almost any tank you want at the beginning. Well, you can have any tank you want at the beginning, but you can't have everything. And each of the decisions you make, am I boring you?
No.
You're sitting there yawning.
No.
Each of the decisions you make restricts other things you can have. Yeah. Until eventually you can't have anything. So
I know that you're just recycling this from an old video you've made.
Well, I mean, technically, I mean, it's still my idea. I still feel the same way.
You're acting like you're prepped, and the reality is you're just remembering,
just making it up as I go along. No, I actually do have, because I'm moving on to talking about, aquarium size, the size of how big it's going to get. Are you are you capable of providing all of its care needs, for example? So different fish have different requirements. But even before we get to that, going into the shop, you need to know, firstly, you need to find a good shop that you trust. And then I like to know how the shop systems are broken up. It's well worth knowing. If it's a shop you go to regularly, ask them, is it all one system or is it multiple systems? Because if it's multiple systems and you've got
different water between the different...
Yes. And you've got a load of sick fish in one system, I mean, you still might not want to risk it because there's every possibility they've just moved one over. But it gives you, you can make an educated guess. Whereas if you have no idea if it's one system or not, and there is one sick fish on the other end of the store, I wouldn't be buying any fish if it was one system and there was a sick fish there, because the chances are it's everywhere.
No, it would depend on the shop how vigilant I feel. Because if my local shop, the shops that I use all the time, I generally not too concerned. If it was a random shop that I don't know, and especially if it's a shop that's looks generally a bit run down.
Yeah,
there was one sick fish in there, I'm walking away, no matter what.
Yeah. So that's something that is worth. Never buy a fish where you walk into the store and you see it and you don't know what it is. Just don't buy it. If you don't, if you literally don't know what it is, you don't deserve to own it.
It's easy to say that though.
No, well, it's very. You've seen what I'm like. I have incredible willpower with regards to not buying things.
This is true.
So even the things I want. But so just I can't say okay. So the King I was an impulse buy. When I bought that, I didn't plan to go in and buy it. It was there, and I was there for an hour, and I went, yeah, I can't really not take that. So, but I've never have bought a fish where I didn't know what it was before I walked into the store. And
this is a little bit dangerous, but angelfish generally, yes, roughly how they behave. And actually, sometimes you might say, well, I know wrasses, but then you'll buy what's it called, the one Melanaris wrasse, and it turns out they're bully. So sometimes you can generalize, and that doesn't apply to a specific type of fish. But as a general rule, it's not like you're buying a fish that you've got no idea about with that. So.
Yeah, and I think so. One of the most memorable trips to a shop, and I've told you this story before, so you might recognize it, but some people might not. There was a guy, and he was buying his very, very first fish, and the shop was going to sell it to him, which was literally boggled my mind. The fish was what's the file fish with the green? Is it Harlequin filefish?
The green
with the green and the yellow spots. Yeah, so they have an incredibly low survival rate. This guy had just got into the hobby. I was listening to him talk. I actually said to him, "Do not buy that fish," but because the shop had told him it was okay. Are you getting a picture up of one?
I am, yeah.
Because the shop had told him it was okay, he then completely was just dismissed what I had said to him.
Really?
To go, yeah, and he bought it.
Oh God, yeah. If someone's actually coming up to you and saying that in the shop, I would like to think you'd think, oh, hang on.
Yeah, so I waited for the shop assistant to go walk away, and I literally said to him, look, you really don't want that fish. They have a very, very low survival rate. And he went,
and it's going to eat your corals.
Well, I doubt he had corals, but he literally went, well, they say it was all right. I was like, you're on your own.
But then, to be fair, if you're in that position, you're just some random guy who doesn't know. Why should he trust you more than a shop that he knows well? Well, I'm not saying that's the right attitude.
I know,
but I think that's understandable.
Well, do you know what he should have done in that situation? He should have got his phone out. I almost said effing phone out. Yeah, and he should have gone, what is this fish? Shop assistant that said to me this is fine for me to keep, and then Googled it, because there is no excuse these days. When I first started, we had to take a book, an actual physical book, to the shop and look through it to find fish that you didn't know what they were. If it was like a wrasse or something.
Yeah, and the thing is, I do that all the time. You just Google it, and within 5 seconds, you can find 10 websites telling you, like, people say, oh yeah, I ate all my corals, or it was really easy, or it got disease. It doesn't take much, even if you can only spare 30 seconds because you're in a rush or whatever. If you can find some information quickly. You might find more information that changes your mind when you get home. Yeah. But you should, as a bare minimum, quick Google.
bit late by then.
Yeah, but even if you go on Live Aquaria,
Yeah, no, of course.
That's probably a good reference for most fish.
James has said, I've never seen Ryan so animated. That is because this is one of the most annoying. I actually think this was what made me start the channel, was one of the reasons the channel was started, to deal with idiots. And I would love, that guy could possibly, like, he could be watching now, for all I know, but I doubt it, because the chances are he probably got into the hobby, the fish died, and he left within 6 months.
There's a private chat feature on the software I use, so I'm going to send you a message. I want you to answer yes or no. I've sent the message, everybody.
Why would you send me that? Alex, that is not a no, I don't feel that way about you.
Is the answer yes or no? It was, yeah, I thought so.
So, I mean, there wasn't any doubt, was there? But
no.
But yeah, it was. It would have been a long. So it must have been probably 8 years ago now, because it was around when the channel first started. So it was probably 8 years ago.
Yeah, but
that same shop. Oh no! Now everyone knows what question you asked. That same shop, I was in there again. I only go in there probably once a year just to go, has this shop improved? And the shop assistant was selling a very, very sick fish to a very old man that could not see very well.
That was the same one.
It was the same shop.
Yeah.
And that in itself annoys me as well. But I can't. The problem is I can't try and keep defending these customers because I'll get banned from all the shops.
And if you're doing that, if you've seen that twice, imagine how many times that happens when you're not there.
Oh, of course, of course. It's look, but the thing is, people will very quickly work out what shops are good, I believe. Dude, I can't imagine that the people that get sold these fish they shouldn't be having go back. You can guess the answer.
I'm just having a chat with people.
Oh yeah, that's all right. Yes, that's all right. But yeah, so
generally you should have, although that's poor form from the shop. You should have to look. You should be able to look out for yourself. And
100%, you are responsible for what goes in your tank.
So the person who the buyers, those two buyers, are just as responsible as the shop. But and ultimately, a shop is there to sell you stuff. So you shouldn't be trying to rely on them. But there should be a minimum standard. And the shops that I go to, there's no way they'd do that. They would tell you. And I overhear conversations all the time. Someone saying, "Oh, should I get this fish?" And it's always like. So I heard I was in Reef Keeper Moss the other day. Someone was asking about a hawkfish, and he wasn't just saying, "Oh yeah, they're great, get it." He was saying, there can be a risk with shrimp. And the guy was like, "What about cleaner shrimp? They're quite big." He was like, "Even then, they can peck at them." And it was proper. So I wouldn't expect. Ultimately, a shop there is to sell you stuff, so you can't expect them to be completely unbiased. But I would expect them to have that level of integrity where they're telling you what you're getting into.
Yeah,
so you know what you're buying then.
But that customer will go back to that shop.
Yeah, well, completely.
So,
yeah.
I was told not to buy humbug damsels, and to be fair, I'm glad I didn't. So, it was the humbug ones. Either or the dom. No, it was humbugs. Yeah. So then I just remember and I still know that shopkeeper after all these years, because he didn't want my 15 quid. Although at the time now they'll probably be like 45 quid for 3 of
them. So that's your first bit is Google.
Yeah. So you basically need to, and the other thing is, you don't necessarily need to take the fish that day. People want to take the fish that day. It's quite common for me to see a fish. I don't put a deposit down because if it's a normal fish, I don't particularly care that much. And I'll let fate decide, and I'll go back a week later or 2 weeks later. If it's still there, I go, yeah, okay, you get to come. But no,
I didn't say anything.
What is wrong with you? So why do you do this? You like ruin it mid-sentence.
I didn't say anything.
No, your eyebrows just did this.
I don't know. Don't we
yeah, so you don't have to reserve a fish, because I understand why people wouldn't want to reserve a fish as well. Some people don't like committing to something and then leaving it there. It's just this weird thing. You don't want to. It's almost because then you're sitting there thinking of it. You're sitting at home going, "We've got to go get that fish." It's probably annoying the shop, whereas it's probably not annoying the shop.
I bet it does sometimes if you reserve it and then don't go ahead with it, unless even if you pay in full, it's like they want to get it gone. But
yeah, because then they get a new fish in. So
yeah, I've got a lot better at being patient now. So I'll go in if I want. It used to be that I'd go in if I wanted a fish, I'd go and buy one, and I have to have one, even if I end up with like a slightly ropey specimen.
Yeah.
Whereas now, it's like, because you realise that you might see one that you think, oh, that's perfect, but I guarantee you'll see another 1,000 that are just as perfect.
Yeah.
Every day for the next 6 months. It's not a short-term hobby, and you don't ever need to rush anything, do you?
No, you don't. And the other thing is, quite often, once it's gone, you don't really care that much anymore. There's only one there's only one coral where I saw it once, and it's crazy now. I still feel it like this. So me and my friend, it was Tim, who went into a shop, and there was this amazing coloured frog spawn. It was just green and purple, basically, but at the time it looked like the most vibrant green and purple we'd ever seen.
Yep.
And both of us wanted it.
Okay.
And we were standing there for about 15 minutes, and I was going, I want that. And he's going, yeah, I want it. And then it was like, oh, no, you take it. And then a woman went over to the shop assistant. She heard us, and she went and bought it in front of us.
Oh, now, outrageous.
Now, I will never forget that moment, because if I see something in a shop when I really want it now, I don't and ah over it. I'm like, I'm having that.
Yeah, I want it now.
So
that's not cricket, though, that is. Not British.
It was this little old lady.
Oh, even worse.
I just thought I could just like pushed her over on her way out. But
yeah, should have done. Nick the fish off her.
I think all's fair. Now she did that to me. I'm not too worried about pushing her over. So, so that's the first thing. So we got plenty to talk about. Then you need to decide, like, when you see the fish, you need to go, right, how easy is this fish to keep? So is it something that's going to cause me trouble? If it's something that's going to cause me trouble, like a Moorish idol, is it worth the hassle of that? Because I would say that for 99% of people, Moorish idols are just not worth it. But for 99%
specialist fish, that is.
Yeah. And for 99% of those people that still try it, then you realize it's not worth it after buying it.
Yeah.
As they slowly watch it like die or eat their corals or whatever. So you need to look at how, like as I said, how big it's going to get. Is your tank big enough? Are the tang police coming after you? Is it disease resistant or like a magnet for disease? Because, like, for example, would you now, you're going to say no for loads of reasons, but would you now put, if you wanted one, a powder blue tang in your tank?
No, for loads of reasons.
One of those reasons,
disease. Yeah.
Okay. Aggression is probably going to be the number one.
That would be the top one, and then because they're an aggressive tang. Yeah. But number two, pretty much level pegging would be disease, because
disease would be
described as spot magnets all the time, aren't they?
Yes. Yeah. So, and you could then introduce that disease into all your existing fish. So you go, is it worth it from that perspective?
Yeah.
In the end, after this talk, everyone's only going to buy clownfish. And even those come with some disease.
Bite you, little bastards.
So someone just asked about rabbitfish. Rabbitfish are relatively good community fish. They can be quite aggressive to some other herbivores sometimes, and they'd sometimes eat coral. I found that. Yeah. You haven't found that. So
yet.
Oh, yet. Yeah.
So I always say that I always encourage you to buy them, and I wouldn't stop it because you're worried about it eating coral. But I'm never saying it won't eat your coral.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think they're 90% reef safe. And
see, Jamie won't have one. He won't have one because he's worried it will eat coral, because I've had 3 that eat coral.
Yeah, and so there's a chance they will, but I think most of the time it's more likely that they won't.
Yeah.
Certainly for a few years, but they might. From what I understand, the older they get, the more likely they are as well. But anyway, whatever.
You need to look at the other fish in your tank as well. Is it going to get on, as I said, about aggression? So, as I said, I was sitting there looking at the water box tanks going, it's nice and peaceful at the moment.
Yeah.
I could add a purple tang and screw that up.
Yeah, completely.
But so do I want to have a purple tang in there that will just annoy my yellow tang? I mean, maybe.
You can.
No, I probably will get an acanthrous tang of some sort. I would struggle if I saw a small Achilles tang.
Oh, really? Ooh.
Yeah, I would struggle if I saw a small, because if you obviously going through the quarantine process, they're not as, I would quarantine it by itself.
I was going to say, right, yeah.
So with the other fish, I would quarantine a few at a time. With that, I would quarantine it literally by itself.
I don't think I've ever seen a small Achilles.
No, you just don't. I don't know why you don't, but they're usually like, I mean, you see this
6 inches.
Yeah, you do see some other Acanthus tanks which are small, like you see like tiny clown tanks sometimes, which are very, very misleading because those are the worst tang in the world.
You hate them, don't you? Yeah.
Clown tangs, yeah, God, they're the worst. I've seen tiny Sohol tanks, but I've never ever seen a tiny Achilles, and I wonder if that's because they're collected in a specific place whether they only go to as adults. Mate, I don't know. This is just a guess. So obviously,
maybe as ranching expands, this will change.
Possibly. Sir Stu, I'm assuming you're talking about tangs. I've had loads of tangs, or even the coral farm has loads of tangs in there. All get on with each other. It's just
you've made a video about keeping multiple tangs in a tank.
Yeah, and it can be done, but it's not as peaceful as your tank. There is no perfect tank with no aggression that's full of tanks. You see it every so often, even the coral farm. For some reason, the massive foot-long Sohol has now just taken a dislike to the convict tang that's been in there for the last 2 years with it. So what changed? So, and one obviously is Jamie's got loads and loads of tanks, like probably 30 or 40 of them. And one of them...
Oh, he's 40 tangs?
Maybe 30. He's got loads. He's got like 8 yellow tangs, I think. And he's got a gem tang and he's got a purple tang. And in fact, yeah, it would not surprise me if it was 30. And they absolutely, for some reason, just absolutely hammered his gem tang. And that was... They'd lived together for a while and they just completely stripped his fins. And the fins have now grown back. But it just happens sometimes where they just get... It's like... Whereas you avoid that by not having anything that's aggressive, don't you?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah. So that aggression is the next one. Then I touched a little bit on diet. Copper bands are a perfect example. Do you want to put the effort in to make sure it's getting what it needs?
Yeah.
But other fish have specific dietary requirements as well. Even tangs. Yeah, even tangs and things like do better if they have some sort of algae in their diet.
Yeah, so you should feed nori, for example.
Yeah, is it reef safe? Is another one, because otherwise then you will be providing for its diet, just not in the way you want to.
With your expensive corals.
And the other thing is price. Do you want to spend that money on something that might die? It's something that you might not take into consideration at the time, but this I've said this before, this hobby is 100% gambling. It just is. It's just a different form of gambling. When you buy that expensive acro frag or that king eye or the gem tang, that gem tang is just as likely to die as a yellow tang. They're basically the same fish but with a different... I'm so boring you, aren't I?
I've just every now and then I yawn. It's not a reflection on the topic.
I'm offended. I'm offended. Your turn to start talking.
No, don't get on that.
No, I've done the last. How
long?
You're
mid-flow. Okay, he's getting all antsy, isn't he?
But so price is another thing. Do you need that expensive fish? Do you want it? Will it make you feel special having it? I assure you, it doesn't. It just doesn't. I think I said to you secretly the other day in a text message. I was sitting there watching the king eye and the majestic. And the cost difference between them is insane. And I actually went, quite like the majestic.
The majestic, yeah.
But I did. To be fair, Jamie came. I've mentioned him a few times because I've seen him a few times this week, and I'm seeing him tomorrow. But he came and he saw the king eye in the water box, and he went, like, it looks so much better under this light. There's much more. Yeah. The coral farm's very.
I've only seen it in the farm actually. Yeah, and it's
under the white light, it literally, or the whiter light, it literally looks like the pictures that you Google.
Yeah, I bet.
So it's got those proper tiger stripes. And
check it out.
So I always thought to myself, I would change when I had more coral in it, I would change the lights to be more blue. I'm not going to do that now because the fish just look better.
Okay. But you'll have a blue in the evening still.
Yeah, I'll change it to So
if you can work out how to adjust the lights.
I'll just ask Telegram. I'm not joking. That's my plan.
Yeah. Okay.
So anyway, your turn. Your turn.
You've covered off most of the stuff that I've taught you on my list. Aggression, which is that's a massive thing for me. Size, and there's two things with size: maximum size and current size.
Yeah.
So, like a dragon wrasse is a good example. You'll see a dragon wrasse in a shop, and they're 2 inches long. They look quite cool, look a bit different, but that doesn't mean it's gonna stay that big. They're gonna get big, and they're gonna get big quick.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean like a Tomini tang, for example, they can get quite big actually, 5-6 inches long, maybe even bigger. And I've had one in my 2-foot water box for 18 months.
Yeah,
maybe 2 years. He's fine, and he's not got too big. He's hardly grown at all.
That definitely is a thing. Well, whatever people say, they don't get as big. They just don't. They don't get as big in smaller tanks.
Kind of limited to their environment.
They are definitely. So as I said, I've had my purple tank for years. It's only like 3 inches. And it's 16 years old.
But there are some fish. So some fish like that, I have no, and I've also got a one spot fox face in there. I've had him in there for at least a year, and he's fine.
Yeah.
That long term, he's not going to be fine. It's far too small.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But they're fine, and but it's weird because there's some fish will grow big quick, and you don't want them. Other fish like that won't grow big, won't grow quick.
Yeah.
So they're okay. And that's a little bit difficult to work out, but that's why you need research. That's why you shouldn't do that. You do some basic level of research in a shop, but really, like your quick Googling or quick YouTube search, but really you want to be doing proper research before. That's why, like, to your point, if you see a fish in the shop, you go look at it and you're like, that's cool. Do a quick bit of Googling. Okay, I'm going to go back and think about it. And that fish will go, but there'll be another 1,000 of them. So it doesn't matter. I take my time and think. LFS, so choosing actually, I don't do this so much anymore, but I used to use Live Aquaria. Every time I thought, do you know what, I quite fancy a new fish, I'd go on Live Aquaria and you can filter. They've got it's an American website that they sell fish, but over here, of course, we can't buy from them. But it's a really good tool. Basically, they've got a massive library of fish, so you can filter by aggression. So you can filter for non-aggressive fish. You can filter by tank size. You can filter by type, so gobies, clownfish, whatever. And you can go through all of their list and think, and you can round it down. So you look at that, you might think, okay, I quite fancy a small fish. So you've searched by small fish, and you're like, oh, that looks cool. Let's look at the damsel. Oh no, it's aggressive. Okay, I quite fancy. Let's have a look at that blenny. Oh, that's cool. Ah, no, that eats corals. Let's have a look at this blenny, and all that sort of stuff. So you can spend loads of time choosing on Live Aquaria, but you can't beat going to your local fish shop and seeing them in the flesh, as long as you resist the impulse purchase. And I'm in local fish shops all the time. Whereas you're not so much, but you still see fish in the flesh more.
Yeah, true. The other thing that I didn't mention, which you might actually mention, make sure it's feeding. That's like a basic requirement. Just a basic requirement.
So you're moving on. We'll come back on to. In fact, we'll do this now. So this is choosing the right specimen.
Yeah.
So not just you ask to see it feeding. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I don't always do that. If it's a fish like a yellow wrasse that looks fine, looks healthy and fat, it's going to eat.
I'm sorry. I will stand my ground on this one.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
I make sure every fish is feeding before I get it.
Maybe that's too blasé, but there are some fish that I'm not so fussed about. But there's nothing wrong with asking, and you probably should do.
Yeah.
But also asking how long it's been in the shop. I don't like if a fish has just come in. It doesn't necessarily put me off, but I prefer it if I say how long have you had that, and they say 6 months, it makes me happy.
It makes me wonder why it's been here for 6 months and no one else wants it but you.
Or whatever. But if it's just come in, it came in yesterday, mate. I'm like, I'll come back next week.
Yeah.
Don't take pity on a sick fish.
No.
Like there are times when you might think, oh, it looks sad. I wonder if I can recover it, especially if you've got a quarantine tank. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. I'm afraid it's just if it is going to die, don't put it in your own tank. Just do not do it. But things you can check, choosing the right specimen, and the things that I look at, I think I look at these. These are what I wrote down when I thought, what do I look for? Look at it head on. So when it swims towards you, because then you can see if it's fat or not. If it should be like this shape, which is I don't know how to describe that shape. Kind of like a diamond, like Ace of Diamonds, the diamond card.
Oval, I think is the word you're looking for.
Oval. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I suppose it is oval, but like a weird oval. Anyway, that kind of shape. And if they're fat, that's great. Also, you should if they're just swimming side on, you can often see a bone going down the full length of the fish, and that's usually a sign that they're underweight.
Yeah.
Which you might sometimes, and I bought fish underweight before, knowing they're underweight, knowing that they're likely to recover. Because if they've been in the shop for not very long, they've probably not had much food in the last couple of weeks when they're traveling and all that sort of stuff. But it's always better to have them no bones showing and nice and healthy. Nice and fat. Pinched stomach. That's particularly with fish like dragonets, mandarins. You can see people say pinch stomach. What does that mean? If you see enough, you can see it literally like the fish goes down like this, and then suddenly massively the stomach. Yeah. It's like someone squashed it. And if a fish is like that, forget it, because it's going to die. It's not. That's irreversible with certain fish like dragonets in particular. You don't want any marks or white fluff, I've put. So I've bought a fish with a mark before, but I knew it was a new mark because I'd been scoping that fish out for weeks. But you don't want anything that looks like it might be getting beaten up by a tank mate or whatever, because I would think, oh, they're going to be stressed out. So I prefer, and the chances are, if you look long enough, you'll find a perfectly healthy specimen. You shouldn't have to settle for a second bet.
For a wimpy one.
For a wimpy one. And obviously, signs of disease is so spots on it. White fluff. So the cauliflower type marks, which is lymphocystis, that's not a problem. But I still would almost never buy. I can't think of a scenario when I would buy a fish with lymphocystis, because you'll find another one without. So why, even if it'll go away, why would you not get a fish that's completely healthy?
Yeah.
And I think those are all the things I look at in terms of the specimen. In terms of other stuff I look at, utility value.
You can look for behavior as well in fish. So if the fish is shaking his head, for example, it's a sign of flukes in the gills and things like that. So
that is what stopped me buying the Japanese masked swallowtail angel, the last one I saw, because I went in and it was shaking its head, and I was like, oh, I wonder if it's got flukes. So I left. I was like,
just put it in fresh water. Could have been fine.
But you've just said don't buy it. But I said, I was like, do you know what? I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks and I'll see how it is. I came back a couple of weeks later and it was gone.
Not good.
But anyway, so there are some things like that you can treat. But either way, it's better not to have it. That's an unusual fish. There's not many fish that you won't ever see.
That's the problem.
But yeah, utility value. That's not necessary. Some people only choose fish for utility value. Like worldwide corals always talk about that. They're like,
mostly me,
But then what utility value is a king eye angel and a majestic?
Sex appeal.
Sex appeal. Okay.
No, that was the reason I got that fish, is because obviously I got the tank, so I wanted to put something special in it. That was the reason I got that fish.
What about the majestic? What about the blue face? And what about the?
Look, this is my tank. This is mine. Be nice to me.
But no, I'm not saying. But just like utility value is a factor, and you should consider it. But if everybody just bought fish just because of utility value, most tanks would be boring. You'd have there are loads of fish that have no utility value. Like my Midas blenny is so cool, and it doesn't really have any utility value. It doesn't do anything for the tank. But
not even that cool, really.
Well, you're a moron though when it comes to blennies. You don't like blennies. Why don't you like blennies?
Midas blennies are just like they're just sort of
brightly
yellowy.
Coloured. They're funny looking. They back in and out of caves all day long, and they're sociable. They're wicked. Anyway, there's loads of fish that have no utility value, but they're really cool. Shrimp gobies is another one you don't like.
Yeah.
What have I put? Oh yeah, a bit of googling and YouTubing. Reef compatible, which I think you must have talked about earlier.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And that's always a sliding scale. Most fish carry some degree of risk.
Yeah, that's what I've started to realize that myself. My Tamini tank's a nightmare. So you've got one in your LPS tank. My one definitely, it goes around like scrapes the trackies. And I'm not talking about the bases of them. I'm talking about the actual like flesh of them. And I couldn't work out why they wouldn't open in that system. So I moved them over, and then I noticed it was doing it once when I was with a customer. And I was like, "You are a bastard."
Interesting. So that's the thing. There are some fish like that you wouldn't. Tangs are generally considered reef safe.
Yeah.
But there are certain tanks that, well, it sounds like any tank is a risk, but there are certain tanks like the Hippo tank, Dory.
Yeah.
They're quite notorious. They're probably as big a risk as a fox face.
Yeah, purple tangs as well. I've had a purple tang, and I've also had a sailfin, a Desjardins sailfin do it. So I have to keep moving fish to different tanks to be with coral that they don't eat.
Yeah.
So
so there you go. So reef safeness is another issue, and I think that is that's everything that I think of.
Well, that's a bit. You got another 10 minutes, so you better keep thinking.
Well, we wouldn't have 10 minutes left if you hadn't rushed me at the start. So.
Actually, I did actually want to answer a question that was Charles Bettany, I believe, was the person who helped me with the rock. Mm-hmm. So he asked about the blue assessor. He really wants one, but everyone says they're really boring. What color is the back of your tank? Because they are really, really cool fish. I actually quite like blue assessors, but the back of my tank is black, which means I can't see it ever because it's completely camouflaged against it. If you have a lighter blue background, like in my old tank, it would stand out. But yeah, so imagine that on a black background. If you have a dark background, a yellow assessor is a much, much better choice. And I quite like the yellows. That is so expensive. Wow.
$50.
I didn't know they were that expensive.
It's US.
Well, yeah,
not going to be cheaper over here, to be fair.
I can't remember what I paid for mine. So, but yeah, they are a nice fish, but the chances are they don't stand out in our tanks. In all honesty,
so they are boring. You're agreeing with the comment.
Yeah. Someone commented on. I like different fish to you. I like
stupid fish.
But someone commented on one of my videos going, "Oh, you're gonna put a yellow assessor and a blue assessor. They'll kill each other. They love each other. They're like,
oh, really?
They even the blue assessors came from a tank that had about 30 yellow assessors in them.
Okay.
So I can assure you that wasn't a problem. And I knew it wasn't a problem, but people love to give information. The chances are that person had never kept a blue and a yellow assessor together.
Maybe they'll mate and they'll give you a green assessor.
It's probably going to happen.
Yeah.
I wonder if actually other things do crossbreed, but I wonder if there was a hybrid between the two of them, what color it would actually come out. Surely it can't be green.
I don't know. Try it.
I think people have red assessors, I think.
Okay.
So maybe.
No idea.
Not me.
They do look a bit boring, I think. I'm not a fan. The yellow ones are right.
I like yellow assessors.
Yeah. Are they the ones that swim upside down?
Yeah, both of them are, yeah. What I find interesting is the yellow assessor is up in the morning when I get up. So when I come downstairs and it's like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock, yellow assessor out. Blue assessor not. He likes to sleep in. Because at about 10 o'clock, he comes out. I'm not joking. I'm like, how have you got some sort of time frame? Like some sort of alarm clock?
But they all fish have that. So some of my wrasses, Halicoris wrasses, sleep in the sand. Some of my wrasses, like if I forget to feed the tank and I remember at 10 o'clock, half an hour before lights out,
too late.
The wrasses are in bed.
Yeah.
And if my lights come on at 10:30 in the morning, and if I want to feed at 11 o'clock, most of them aren't up yet.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I have my lights on early. I suppose you go to work, don't you? Whereas I'm obviously like you leave to go to work, so you can't enjoy it.
So I have mine 10:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. on all my tanks, and that's because I don't really care about in the morning because I'm not around. Although actually in this tank in this room I am, but I want it to be 10:30 at night. I'm in bed by 10:30, so I want them to be on. I want the lights to be. I want the lights to be on until I'm no longer around.
Yeah.
So, how long do you run your lights for? Out of curiosity.
Don't know, actually, if I'm honest. I actually don't know.
I don't know.
On the farm, the farm doesn't come on until like 11 o'clock. But 9, I think, or 10.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think, no, it doesn't go off. So, 9 or 10, I think. I don't do it. It's on the farm, it's not on for 12 hours. I don't need it to be on for 12 hours. So, because the only thing it does, I don't need to increase growth. And it just increases the electricity bill. It's the same reason I've lowered the temperature down. It's like
I was going to say that's part of why I keep these tanks at 24 degrees LPS tanks.
It'd be interesting to know how much of a difference it makes. Like those, I actually saw that somewhere. There's an American shop, and in the summer, they change the temperature. So in the summer, they actually put the temperature up because then there's less of a swing as it gets too hot.
Yeah.
And then in the winter, they lower it down. Actually, something that we should talk about. Do you see BRS put another video out?
Oh, wow. No, I didn't.
They haven't put them out for a while. No, sorry, no, wait. When I said they put another video out, I mean, it's probably the one from ages ago, which I just happened to see yesterday.
Right, okay.
It's the one of the massive tank they've got.
No.
They've got like, is it, those white angels?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
When
was that about?
This
like
was ages ago. Just 3 weeks ago.
I don't watch videos. I saw it yesterday.
For God's sake. Because I almost put 52 weeks of reefing in the news section, but I didn't because I've lost interest in it. And I was going to put it in because it's been weeks since they've released anything, and it feels like they're. I mean, I think this is all like it was Black Friday weekend and all this. I feel like their attentions are elsewhere. But the thing with me, 52 weeks of reefing is exciting because there's a new video every week, and they've for a start, it's not been very exciting anyway.
And it's not been every week.
Exactly, they've shot that, so it's like whatever. But maybe anyway. But it was that was talking about him failing with the BRS 360 and the problems he had. I did watch it, but it was ages ago.
Yeah. Anyway, I saw that one. I said I don't know, not sure why I mentioned it. I've forgotten now. But I just like to point out when I watch fish-related YouTube videos and they're not yours.
Yeah, no, doesn't have fair. Yeah, Person Artist Angel they've got, and you can see it on.
They've got two of them.
Oh, really? Ooh.
Aren't they the ones that are really expensive?
Well, so I looked them up last week on the stream of
$30,000. Yeah, and they got two.
Yeah, but they're rich, aren't they? It's amount of stuff
they must have to. They got more money than sense.
Yeah. The biggest company in the hobby by a mile.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to know, like how much they actually earn. But
yeah, if you're watching anyone from BRS, tell us.
BRS, just tell us your financial details. Just
sneak into the office systems.
Yeah.
Find out the financials and the Reef Dork at hotmail.com. Send me an email.
I would love to see their expenses. It's like right. So wages. For some reason,
30 grand fish,
$60,000 of angel fish.
Yeah. And you can write that off against tax. So
exactly. That's exactly. They need 30 chromis to feed to that grouper that's in that grouper tank.
Yeah, they did say when before 52 weeks season 2 started, they said they were going to do live streams with updates.
Yeah,
and I think they said once a month. I can't remember if they said they were going to leave it for 6 months and then start it, but I've not seen any of those live streams. Well,
they used to post every week, didn't they? They haven't on that specific channel. They haven't been posting. So odd. Look at us here moaning.
I know, yeah. Like two old women. No offense to old women. Apart from that one who stole Ryan's fish.
Not fish, coral.
Coral.
If you're watching, I'm coming for you. I haven't forgotten.
Ryan, you should get a Regal for the water box. That's a plan, isn't it? I
actually would. So I would like a Regal Angel. I would love a Mist Bar Regal Angel. So like a proper Mist Bar Regal Angel. I'm not talking about like one, because the King Eye is actually a Mist Bar one as well. I don't know.
Oh, it's got an H.
It's got an X on it, hasn't it? Which I didn't even notice when I bought it.
Yeah.
Well, that fish can never die because it's not like I can just sneak another one in because people are like, wait, where's the X? That
sort of thing.
Yeah, I've never ever seen one like that. In that video, the BRS video, they have one that's where it's half like that.
Okay.
I would love to have like a proper weird looking one.
I almost bought a Mist Bar Regal Angel, a captive bred one.
Yeah.
But I didn't want one so small in the end. But they're cool.
That's interesting. That's what I can't think. It said that the catch bred ones are almost all Mist Bars. I wonder if that's just as they get bigger, they lose them. Because why would that be?
Yeah. Interesting. Or they specifically breed them like designer clowns?
I mean, possible. I would. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to breed them, you might as well breed the weird looking ones. Sometimes I wonder if that's what's happening in human society as well.
Well, that was your parents' approach.
Oh,
hey-oh.
Oh, you were too sharp for me because I tried to make that some sort of joke, but I was too nice to say about you.
I was waiting for. I thought I was like,
no.
All right. 1 hour 59 minutes and 6 seconds.
Yeah. See.
Perfect. Is there anything else?
Going too fast.
You rushed me.
No. Oh, you rushed me.
All right. Well, anything else you wanted to talk about?
No. Not really, if I'm honest. That was both the answer to the Angels Reef question, where it says, "Are they hard to feed and keep alive?" Generally, not really. If you're talking about regal angels, if you get one that's feeding, that's the biggest problem to begin with. And you want a yellow belly one. You don't want a silver belly one. Never, ever, ever, ever buy a silver belly regal angel.
Would you? So if I went all LPS,
yes,
would you recommend I put one in that tank?
Oh, definitely go for it.
Really?
No, don't get one. That's a terrible idea.
Okay.
They will be fine with some LPS. They won't be fine with all. I've had them with frog spawns and torches. I've had them with I've even had them with trackies, although Jamie's the one that eats all his pecks all his trackies. So that's why he's getting out.
Okay.
But yes, I wouldn't. Why are you thinking about getting another one?
I would like one.
No,
tank, but
if you're getting an all LPS tank, just it's not worth it. It'd be too restrictive.
No, that's the thing. I bought it for this one because it was SPS, and I figured, from what I could understand, LPS and Zoas are potential food. SPS is probably all right.
I'm a bit. It also makes you nervous about buying anything.
Yeah,
you've got a few other tanks, but
even then, I don't want if I bought a trackie, I wouldn't want to stick it in the cage, for example. I'd want it in my main tank.
Yes, that's exactly. So I'm hesitant about putting more. Obviously, as you know, the Majestic goes around pecking corals. Now, for some reason, it leaves the Alveopora alone. It's got no interest in it. But it probably won't feel the same way if I put something else in there. And I don't want to go through the effort of getting it out, dipping it, worrying about it, like watching it like a hawk.
Yeah.
So I can get it out if I need to. So it's almost like, look, I got a few weeks off now. So actually, that's one thing just to mention quickly. Obviously, I can't ship corals at the moment. Why are you going?
I thought you were going to say you can't. I can't be here next week.
No,
so why don't drop that for me?
Wait, oh no, I'm going to be here next week. Don't you worry. It takes more than that to get rid of me. Obviously, I can't ship corals at the moment. I am not far from Brighton. If you want to come to the coral farm, by all means. I'm even going to be open. I'm probably going to be open on Christmas Day because I've got nothing to do. So who wants to invite me over for Christmas? And apparently, all the men that want to avoid Christmas, some shops are open and they go to those shops. Yeah, I found out from a shop owner said there's a group of shops and they stay open and people go there.
That's
and
crazy.
they take a few because they just want to avoid Christmas like me.
I hate Christmas if I'm completely honest.
But you coming over?
I wouldn't avoid it. I've got Anyway, well, all right.
Yeah, so that's it basically.
If you want a coral from Prestige, go and pick it up.
Yeah, so loads of people take their holiday over Christmas, like their annual leave over Christmas as well. So just plan a day, come see me. So anyway, cool. Right, that's it. Bye, see you later.